All right, let's get this bad boy started. So, first and foremost, thank you everybody who's playing WWE Champions 2020, 2019, 18, any of the years that has been playing and tuning in to listen to us. First and foremost, I wanted to give a shout out, say thank you to Davey D for hosting this version of the Lounge podcast in his server, allowing people to join in and live chat with us throughout the podcast. And a couple of things that I want to address before we get started. Just some feedback from the initial kickoff podcast that there's some issues with the audio quality. I'm aware. We're all trying to work on that. It's something that we're sort of slowly trying to get together. And some suggestions were to try and gather webcams for people. So just want to address on that now. I'm not gonna make anybody hop onto webcam, especially for an hour and a half to 2 hours for a podcast. Just not something I'm comfortable making people do. Outside of that, there was a request for a table of contents at the beginning of the video to kind of have a timer as to when we would be talking about certain subjects, and that's something I can try to work on. But we're always a group of, it's going to be random people, and you'll see we have a brand new guest in Coyote today, and Davey's not with us today. So we normally just tend to shoot the shit and jump around a lot, so trying to chunk that off into sections usually won't work out too well. And the final thing is something that we will maybe look into, is trying to get some video gameplay from everyone that's going to be in this version of the podcast. So for example, it's Showdown right now. Maybe we can get some gameplay from everybody that's in the podcast, 10, 15 minutes or so, using their own characters, their trainers, their movesets, showing everybody how they interact with Showdown, how they play Showdown, because everyone has different takes on it. Some people use Z Austin, some people use Hall of Fame Booker. Myself, I use Tech Black. Some other people use Hogan. Everybody uses other people, and even if you use the same people, you use them differently. So that's something that we definitely are looking into. And on that note, welcome to the lounge. So we're gonna just go from the top down and go ahead and introduce ourselves. So I'll be your host today, 2Bob29.
Yeah, this is Broken 963 here, your resident faction jumper. What that means is nobody likes me, so hey. Anyways, sorry about that. I had some background noise going on. But welcome to the podcast.
Cable here, in-game Mherex, but these guys all know me as Cable, so it's awesome to be here for the second week. Super excited.
I'm Coyote. I've been around the game for too damn long. Too long. Most of you dislike me or like. I'm bad at introducing myself. What do you want?
That is Coyote4183.
This is Danger Kenny B. Been wasting way too much money on this game since January 2017. You'll currently find me in Creepy Dreams, and part of my heart's still in Tubement. So glad to be here, guys.
And as you may notice from the initial announcement, unfortunately Ben will not be joining us today. He had a family obligation that he has to attend to, and we are going to respect that. Hopefully he may join us on the next one. So we have a bunch of topics to discuss today. We can start, I think let's start with the most recent thing, which is probably going to be the spending ban. We'll be discussing the monthly event. We'll be discussing Ciampa. We'll be discussing the fact that 5-star moves have been getting edited and updated, and a whole bunch more. But I think we're going to start off with the spending ban and see what everyone's take on that in here is. Just to start, I will give my 2 cents on it. I think that it's an interesting attempt by the community. I think comparatively to whatever has happened previously, this is probably the most organized that people have tried to get together on it. On the flip side, it's a rough one to try and push to try and get everyone to jumpsuit. It's not something that you're going to have everybody just naturally hop on board with. And if you're having people with the avatar who are still spending, it's kind of sending a different message. If anyone has any takes on that, please feel free.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, right now, it's actually really easy to participate in a spending ban. You know, you got loot offers right now where you can beat the odds for 1% and get 100 boss man shards. That's if you beat the odds. That was actually one of the featured results from one of the loots. In a lot of cases, spending on stuff that's in the game right now is not going to help you get to Earthquake unless you feel like buying 6,600 TP every week to maximize the event. The offers that are in the store right now, they're not great. You know, I bought there were a few that were 99 cents or 4.99. Yeah, I crossed the picket line for some big spending there, but they were decent deals, and that's the kind of message that I would like to send us, Scopely, is if you offer us crap, I'm not going to keep funneling money at you. If you treat us bad, I'm not going to keep funneling money at you. But if you do something I approve of, I will spend money. I will give you money. It's like any other business transaction that's out there. And if you guys will remember, we talked about this in the last podcast. It's like this time of year, I think the rage at the game comes to a boil this time of year every year, whether it was D9, whether it was the Vader event last year, whether it's what we've got going on right now. And the positive of that, you know, last year everyone was about as mad as I've seen them right now. And after the Vader event, I think we went to the Edge event, and everyone loved that thing. So
we had the Woken Matt event.
Oh well,
That
okay.
was the tipping.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
From May the 4th, which was the Vader, into the Woken Mat. Yep. It was the combo.
$800 or whatever it was to guarantee Matt. I mean, that's looking cheap these days.
Yeah, I was going to say that it was $3,900 to guarantee Woken Mat on that event. That's why people were flipping the shit.
Yeah, $4,000 card.
Well, okay. Well, I've never been big on facts, so it's all good. But the bright side is we entered, after every one of these, we entered a better time in the game, and it was because players got mad, players voiced their opinions, players stopped spending, and that's the only way that we have any impact. And it doesn't have to be 100% for them to notice, and they do notice, and I think that things will actually get better if they roll out this template for this event like they did this month, just like Bailey. I won't participate. I'm not participating this month. I'm leveling the guys that I want. I'm putting coins in the guys that I want. I'm actually having a better time with the game than I have recently. I've got Typhoon. I'm not worried about Earthquake at all. He'll roll around 6 months from now as like a milestone halfway through an event somewhere that'll just give him to you. That's just how the game works.
Most likely.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case if nobody goes for him. If nobody goes for him, you will have another Tech Becky.
That may be true. That may be, and at that point, I'm free to just not spend.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
Yeah, I think with the spending ban, a lot of it is a good idea. Like I think the community getting together, trying to come together to bring about positive change is good. I think the execution hasn't been the best. Like for example, starting. I think the spending ban, didn't they start with, we're going to start like phase 1 or step 1 is canceling subs? Is that accurate?
Something like that. Step 1 was canceling subs, and then there was another date they were saying there's no spending.
Yeah, so really, when you think about it, like to me, one, if someone wants to spend, they shouldn't get any hate directed at them because it's their choice, it's their game. So I would want that not to happen in it. And two, the subs, you could make an argument, are maybe one of the smarter type of spending because you know exactly what you're getting. So I wouldn't start there. Like I would say, the megas are really bad odds. So let's send the message that, you know what, we're not going to pay $100 for a 0.0002% chance at Hollywood Hogan or whatever it ended up being. Like, oh, no one pulled him. So I think really the idea is good. Maybe the execution isn't great, but like Kenny was saying, any less spending will affect them, and they'll listen. And I think we'll end up later getting into some of the things that might or might not have happened to this, but some positives. And then one other thing I wanted to say about this month in comparison to last month. So last month I felt was a really, really bad event. So far, I feel like this one, Earthquake, is much more obtainable than Sasha was, but I don't know if that's true yet. But I think it's going to be. I don't know that you'll need to max all of the TP events, and we'll I'm sure get into that stuff later. But I'm interested to talk about that.
Well, if I may interject, I kind of agree with Kenny on the spending ban. You have to teach them. You know, if you're somebody who chooses to spend, you have to teach them what's good and what's bad by voting with your dollar. If you want to spend. Now, you know, before I spend, I try to ask myself the question: has Scopely done anything to earn my money? If I can say yes, you know, maybe. If I say no, then obviously I don't. The biggest downside to the spend ban that I've seen is the people who've organized. I know most of them, and they're good people. They're great, you know. They all have the best interests. But I see a lot of people in different servers. I'm not going to call them. I see a lot of people in different servers just spend shame people if they choose to spend, and that's going to backfire on this, because you have those people that are like, well, we want everything for free, or you shouldn't spend it all. We're going to shame you, and you have the people who the other way too. They drown out the people in the center.
Yeah, there needs to be. This is also partially something else that I wanted to talk about too. There needs to be a middle ground, and right now in the game, there is no middle ground. There is the people that don't spend, and then there is the people that spend, and that's everyone is trying to make a clear divide between those two people, and it's like either you don't spend or you quote unquote spend $20, versus you spend, and that kind of opened my eyes to a little bit where, okay, so when did not spending turn into also or you can spend $20? So now spending $20 on this game has become the equivalent of spending nothing. It's because $20 gets you nothing in this game. So outside of the starter pack, what does $20 get you in this game anymore? The double cash pack once every 3 months, I guess, and that's all I can really think of. $20 doesn't really get you anything in this game anymore. It's sort of to the point where they kind of make you have to spend 100 or 200 or sets of hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to make any progress towards certain things. And that not having a middle ground section, I think, is also where a lot of people get upset and get angry, because even if they spend $20, they're getting lumped in with free to play, because spending $20 doesn't do anything for them. And I just don't know, outside of the starter pack, what can really be offered, and double cash offer, which I don't even think is worth it sometimes. What else can be offered for $20 in this game that can even be worth it for people, unless they move the $100 packs down to 20?
Well,
Which, I mean,
if they had TP packs with more than 50 TP, something like that, I mean, they honestly, and I've said this directly to them too, is the value is not there. They need to find out what the value of $20 is. $20 is not in any way, shape, or form worth 50 TP when one move level is 230. I'm not paying $100 to level one move. It's not worth it when it's just damage going up 200 points or whatever it is.
I mean, yeah, we were just talking about it before. They're offering the going rate for 1,000,000 coins is $30. That's what their offer is for the going rate in the store. Who the hell's spending $30 to level up their 4-star gold character twice?
That's twice, 3 times maybe, and it hasn't really kept pace with inflation. You know, we've had to level guys, to put moves on guys, to get them to max level. Those costs have dramatically gone up since 2017, obviously, because the ceiling has increased. But the prices have not kept up. I mean, it's 99 in-game cash will get you 4 TP. And it pretends that it's variable, but if you run that through the ringer, you will get 4 TP. And that price basically holds in the store for any offers that you see, the equivalency of cash versus TP. We get 700 and what is it, 720 a week just from doing normal tours, right? Is that right? 120 a day for 6 days, and the 7th day is not a TP tour.
Pretty much,
I believe.
Yeah.
So
right.
how far does that get you on leveling your guys? And then turn around and say, to participate in the event, we would like you to spend 6,600 TP every week to keep pace. And it's like, no, thank you. I'm not doing that.
I think with what about the middle ground too, like, so if you have something with value in it for $20, you'll get whether you want to call them dolphins or whatever you want to call them, bring in more of that mid tier of spending. And Broken said it, they don't know the value, they haven't set the value properly. But like, there's a lot of stuff they could do that would be so, like us with big rosters. It doesn't make sense to pull for a mega with a very low chance of getting, unless you're going to spend thousands, and I'm not interested in that. Most of you guys, I'm pretty sure, aren't either. So where do we drop our money? To complete an event, if we're short a guy, like, yeah, I'd drop $100 once a month to get a guy like Ciampa, for example. We'll probably talk about that later, or Drew.
Or like, how I spent 300 on Drew.
Right. But beyond that, what would a good $20 pack be, for example? Maybe something that included tokens, cash, TP, maybe something like a fuse up, except you fuse up with the levels and moves, like your levels and moves leveled up. So call it something else, charge for it. Maybe you take your 2-star or your 2-star gold, you can level TP, fuse him up to 3-star gold for X dollar. Maybe a pack like that, something like that. They could come up with some stuff like that potentially that could be interesting.
There are things that are always useful. You've got health packs, you've got TP, you've got coins, you've got props. There could be a mix of that. Put an offer in the store once a week, get your free $20 off people. I'll buy some extra health packs and props and Shangos and things like that. Why not? Especially if it's guaranteed.
See, what I think the problem is, and they actually have an in-game solution to this already. A lot of the packs are more dedicated towards not exactly allowing somebody who just started the game, who's lower leveled, to be able to catch up, essentially. I think they're trying to throttle that all back. But this whole manager pass, the different levels up to level 15 or whatever, not even sure if that's part of the manager's pass, but they can offer different items in the store for different levels so that the people who are at level 15 can spend $20 to buy 500 TP, where it would take $100 for somebody to buy 200 TP at a lower level, because to them, it's pretty much equivalent to where we are versus where they are. Like I said before, 50 TP does us nothing. 50 TP to a brand new player, hey, that's quite a bit of TP, actually.
I think that the point that everybody's making here is the game's still, the economy, what you get for $20, is still based on 3 gold model. It has never evolved a 4-star gold model at all. One thing that they could offer for $20 that would be pretty interesting is, say you take something like the Ciampa, if you have Tower Breeze and you get Ciampa from the event, why not offer 300 shards of Ciampa so you can buy the fuse up for $20 or even 50? Something like that, so you get rewarded for completing the event. You can now buy the fuse up pack to get the final shards you may need to fusing to 4-star.
They used to do that. Seems like all the way back with Enzo and Big Cass, if you pulled, that's the first time I remember them doing it. If you pulled one of them at a certain rarity, they would offer you a fuse up pack, and you could only see it if you had one of those guys. And maybe it was the other one, I can't remember. But it was something like that, where it was dependent on who you had.
That sounds like a great idea to me.
They've done that quite a few times. Like zombies, they did that. You can only get the fuse up for the zombies if you had the zombies. They actually do that pretty often. You just happen to have all the characters that they're offering, so everybody sees them. So
fair enough.
But no, I think the point that's being made though for Ciampa is and similar to Drew, is that if you're getting a card at 2-star bronze from the event, that it's like, okay, now you've hit the jackpot, you've hit the payload, you've achieved what you wanted to do. Now that you've achieved it, now you can capitalize on the people that have achieved it and say, well, instead of a 2-star bronze, don't you want a 3-star for $20 or a 4-star for $50 or something along those lines? And I think that would be something that they could push too. But something that they came out with the League 15 prize, for people that are getting milestones and rewards from League 15, was, and I just noticed it, which helped me complete the talent up, was these 50 TP all color bags, where you get 50 TP of every single color in one bag. That's 300 TP. If you offered a handful of those, or one or two of those with 500k coin, and like Kenny said, some props before, maybe 3 to 6 Show a Heart boxes and 3 to 6 Shango boxes, you can package a little like feud nest package together like that, or a resource nest package, and make something like that for 20 bucks. And like you said, you can make it one time only, once a week, and a lot of people would buy that. I don't see why anyone wouldn't buy that. That's a way to access props again, which people don't have access to. That's a way to guarantee yourself TP of a certain color, because it's a TP bag that has every color instead of the TP bags which just open up with blue, because everyone knows that TP is opening up with blue, and that's been mentioned and nothing's been done about it, but I mean, it is what it is.
I have no blue TP.
Oh, did you waste it all on your Bailey event?
Yeah, I wasted all my blue TP. Now I do not get blue TP.
There you go.
I've recently been working on some guys like that use blue heavily. So yeah, mine's kind of taking Alistair to gold finally after wasting time chasing other characters for the month. Surprisingly, what you can get done. But yeah, they've eaten up the blue TP. I actually need some.
There you go. All right. Well, now that you need it, you can still guarantee it in those bags anyway.
Exactly.
So let's move along a tiny bit to the monthly contest, because I know we've been kind of slipping it in here and there. Let's take it off from the start of the characters, kind of similar how we did with Bailey and Sasha last time. How do you guys feel about Typhoon versus Earthquake? Is the chase for Earthquake worth it? Is the gear going to be essential for him? Do we need the gear? Is it going to be something that you're going to chase? If you get Earthquake, if you get him, are you going to say that you don't need the gear? And we kind of touched on it already with the TP being 6,000 plus TP a week to chase 100 extra shards for him. I just want to kind of touch on the whole monthly as a whole to give my own 2 cents on it from the get-go. Personally, I'm looking forward to taking Typhoon up. I'm actually very inclined to take him all the way up to 4-star gold. I like the way that he looks compared to a lot of the other free cards. Some of them are pretty good that they've given out, but I'm very intrigued by this card. They gave out a legendary strap in the talent up, with which a lot of people could get if they maxed it out, and if not, there's a lot of new gen belts going out throughout the entire month, so you can manage to get a showboat one for him. If you end up getting the skip turn from the talent up, great. I ended up being one of those people. If not, there's other buffs that it came with, which is, I think they're all useful for that specific card. If you end up throwing the double armor set on him with Honky Tonk Man and that yellow 2 move, you're eclipsing 100% gem reduction with that free-to-play card. And on top of that, he's a replacement for Enzo, which a lot of people might not have, or Acom, I should say, which some people might not still have, not for the yellow MP standpoint, but for the health saving standpoint. Very good for a lot of people that don't have that card. And I think he's extremely underrated as a showboat for the fact that he has a submission to drain MP, along with protect gems to pile on top of the 100+% armor gem reduction. And that's my 2 cents on Typhoon. I will be quiet about Earthquake until we approach that.
Well, I have to say, this month seems to be, other than the TP being ridiculously high, 6,000 TP. No, that's bad. But other than that, this month does seem to be moving along at a slightly better pace when it comes to getting the showboat or getting level than last month with Bailey. I will say Bailey probably is the better character, Typhoon, sorry. But yeah, this month seems to be moving along at a better pace with being able to level.
I think that has to do with the dailies. And part of the monthly I was going to bring up is the daily, the hard mode, the daily. Normal mode is the same. You're getting 5,000 keys. Hard hell mode was similar to the same. Instead of 10 Sasha shards, you're getting an Earthquake shard bag with some extra resources. So they're sprinkling a little bit extra on top. The hard mode, though, they didn't bring back the Bailey's Daily Store, but instead they're giving you this Typhoon shard bag, which is the TP that we were talking about we didn't get for Bailey. They gave him a 2-star gold fuse-up point. That's something that we could all hit from those shards if you were patient enough. Personally, I waited like 4 days, I think, or 3 or 4 days, and then did the talent up, got enough shards on all the bags, and fused them up to 2-star gold, took them to 3 bronze, and could do the hell mode blitzes in the final day or two of the first week of the blitz. But that was not a possibility with Bailey at all, because they weren't giving out shards, they were giving out these tickets, which, while I enjoyed the props and some people enjoyed the IGC, I think if you're interested in the monthly card, this is much easier to make progress towards it with that hard mode.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm pretty big fan of Typhoon. He might be a bit slow, but with that double yellow move set, once you hit it, if you're and he has a strap on and you're building him right, no one's gonna kick out, and that's just a powerful ability in itself. And then like as far as blitzes go, throw Lawler on him and use the double blue set to heal himself right away. You're gonna be healing to full and ending blitzes really quick that way. So I think he's a pretty great player himself. I plan on taking mine 4-star gold too. On top of that, his coach ability. I don't have Ray, so he gives blast gem damage, which is awesome. But he also gives red damage, so he's going to be super useful on a guy like Drew. So I'm pretty stoked about his coach ability. I think that's really great. Having the 2-star gold fuse up, I think, is huge. So I missed by 3 shards getting him to 2-star gold before the blitz ended. So I did 27 hard mode blitzes. But
Ooh.
still, though, the fact that I know that I will get him to 2-star gold and did, and then can use the tokens to take him up to 3-star, and I'll be ahead of the game as far as what's required for blitzes and stuff, I thought was a huge win for us. Like you're talking about the shard bags each day. With that, that's a big win. Some free TP for him, and then the daily tours that aren't every day, but the hard ones. What do they call those tours? I'm blanking on it.
The Triumph Tours?
Yeah, the Triumph tours. So last month, Hell mode was way too hard. You know, you needed to be strapped up, and they had all that stuff. And this month, I would say they have it pretty close to being right when you figure, you like the Yoko, you got 60,000 ingots for hard or Hell mode and 30,000 for hard. And like I think I used one cash kick out and some props, but there's only one tour you have to beat, so you don't get beat up through like five nodes. So
Of,
you can decide,
yeah, of that one
you know,
difficulty.
yeah, you can decide, okay, I'm going to drop on Hell mode 200 in-game currency and maybe a couple props, some Shangos, something, to get 60,000 ingots. And this month, I mean, I think I'm up to like 1,000,000 ingots or pretty close, like 800,000
Wow.
at least for sure. Um, so it's going to be a lot easier to grab resources. The daily offers, there's some great stuff in there, which I know we're going to talk about. But that makes the earthquake gear, the shards in there easier, everything easier. So far, I'm optimistic. Maybe not about earthquake. I'm not sure like if I'll be able to get them for sure. But as far as what you're getting, and that's not even talking the talent up, which I want to say was amazing. From talenting up, maxing it, I ended up getting 5 mil plus coins, 300 TP, 352 SS tokens, 53 SS tokens, 20 4 SG tokens, and 11 5 SS tokens, which is phenomenal in my opinion.
It's a good chunk of 4-star gold tokens in return.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the better talent ups they've run in a while.
I actually was, yeah, I think you guys basically hit every point that I can think of. I think it's an improvement. I think Typhoon, in terms of his moveset, does the Enzo routine better than Enzo ever did. The 80 shard fuse up for a 2-star gold, a big improvement. That, I mean, we were all so frustrated after just 1 week of slap fighting with Bailey at 1-star for everything for the first week. You know, I've got mine at 3-star bronze. I'm playing along in that regard. Yeah, talent up was great. There's I think it's kind of split in two directions. I'm not sure that it's easier really to get Earthquake than Sasha. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's an improvement and by degrees. I'm not sure that I like this template that they're running. But if they want to keep tweaking it and making it better, I'm not going to complain about that.
I think the positives from this event and the last event, the one node tours, as Cable said, those are great touch. They're a lot. They're not as grindy as like you have 6 tours a week that have 5 nodes in them. That got repetitive and boring.
I agree. My take on Typhoon, I think he's a pretty good card. I've only played with him at 3-star. Don't even know what his 4-star move is yet, but even at 3-star, he's really good. It allows you to get your Triumph tours done in a unpainful manner. I remember Bailey's. That was a miserable experience, and it completely turned me off to the whole event as far as whether or not Typhoon is even attainable. I'm going to say no at this point with some of the glitches going on in the game, some of the errors people are running into with the asset bundles. My big thing is right now they have a nice little glitch going on with the Blitz, where if you're not on before 3 p.m. when the Blitz ends, you cannot get that last milestone. It's for some reason not going to people's inboxes, and it's just making it impossible to get Typhoon in that regard.
Earthquake, you mean?
Yes, our Earthquake. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were Earthquake shards at the end of the Blitz milestones.
Yeah, a bunch in the last one.
There was 90 shards in the last Blitz milestone, yep.
Yeah, so somebody like me who actually couldn't get on during the day, I missed 2 milestones. So now I'm going to have to fight support, probably not get them, and basically be locked out of getting Earth.
Yeah, the same thing happened to a lot of people in the 1% faction, where they weren't on and they missed out on shards at the last second. But support did respond to them, and they did get them their milestones. So hopefully it is the same across the board, because they are aware that it is an issue. As for why they're not fixing it, kind of concerning. But yeah, no, they definitely are aware that that's definitely an issue.
I don't want to get too into weeds. I'm sorry, Bob. I mean, fuck.
No,
I don't want to get too into weeds, technical wise. Some of their bugs, their infrastructure, in a way that, since I'm a developer, I have certain apps that pick up error messages that I send out because I'm developing my own Android job. And some of the errors I see are just things that you would catch on day one, or you should be able to. Like, they're not things that normally like, there's certain bugs that they've had in the past. Well, this is something that's hard to catch and debug, so they may have missed it. Some of the errors that I see are actually like putting an empty user data or a null user data file, because the game freaks out, but it handles it enough that it loads the game, but it doesn't load much of your data.
But yeah, the coding errors are a bit of a pain. As for whatever the reason is behind them, they were mentioning that there's issues with the moves. It was Tech MDM had a weird move coding error. Showboat Matt Hardy had an error with his colors getting swapped on his moves briefly. No idea why that's a thing at all. But
someone said they're basically editing code on a live server. It makes you wonder, do they not have a dev server to practice these things?
Yeah, that's a bit concerning.
It's Bush League.
But yeah, before we get stuck on that, back to Typhoon and Earthquake. What do you guys think about Earthquake? So we discussed Typhoon a little bit. Earthquake's an interesting character. Destroys 3x7 area. Has a choose blast gem move. Has an increased damage move. I think the card's an interesting card. I think the gear is nice, but not a necessity. Personally, I'm kind of more interested in taking Typhoon up to 4-star gold than even if I got Earthquake. That's just my 2 cents. What do you guys think?
Agreed.
I'm going to say that if the gear is optional and available, go for the gear. 100%. I mean, Bob, we had this discussion with Edge where at first, no, it was not. It was completely useless in many people's eyes. Now, in hindsight, a lot of people wish they had it. So,
Of course.
in my opinion, if the gear is available, go for the gear. Like 100% go for the gear. And like somebody else was saying earlier, I forget who had said it, the ingots are much more plentiful this month, or it seems. So that 1.6 million for his gear, it's really not going to make or break when you already have almost 1 million ingots.
I find it really interesting that you look at the daily deals that they'll be offering. What I've got my eye on the earthquake gear because, like you say, why not put that in the closet to when you're going to actually have the guy?
Mm-hmm.
It can join Ray's gear for whenever I finally get that guy. But if you look at the offerings that they're doing for the daily offerings, they're offering several gears that were either really easily available in the past, or you can get them with coat hangers, which is really strange. And we're talking the gear like what Brock Lesnar's gear. Hey, these gems do 50 more damage. The stuff that we had from back in the original days of when gear really didn't matter all that much. But then you've got Brett's gear at the very end of the month, which is rare, and that I've got my eyes on those two things. Gear that's my thing every month is keep an eye on for gear.
Yeah, that's a smart one. I was gonna address the prize wall in a bit. But yeah, we may as well do it now while we have the daily offers. They're offering blitz tickets, coins, keys, top tier props, gears from everyone like we were just talking about. No offense, shitty gears like the Showboat Shawn Michaels gear, TLO Taker, Powerhouse Brock Lesnar. Unless they're planning on giving Powerhouse Brock Lesnar a second gear buff because he now has 2 gears. So unless that second gear buff is now going to do something, which was the reason they're charging so much for it, would be interesting. There's some more of those lie, cheat, and steal props up in those daily offers, and like it's been mentioned, I think probably the most interesting and enticing thing is the Tech Brett gear, not the Trickster Brett gear. The fact that Tech Brett gets those extra gems, it kind of turns him into a tech version of Lex Luger for those people that like Lex Luger. Very, very viable. Makes a good Bret Hart rec if you didn't get Brett 2K at a decent level, or if you weren't around for that event.
Yeah, I think I'll be going for the little Brett gear for sure. Just I don't like Luger very much. Like Brett, maybe a little better.
Yeah, and Brett's issue always felt like he needed a botch coach, and because his choose move was so low in gems that he needed a choose coach also. So the gear just kind of solves that. So that's nice.
And then if you've got Trickster Andre, you can run a little bit faster too.
Yeah, I think prize wall wise or the daily offers. I mean, I pretty much, you're going to buy the coin off the regular prize wall, and it's a better ratio of ingots to coins on the daily. So I plan on for sure buying all of the coins. I bought the 20k keys. That to me is a no-brainer to help the faction. Brett gear at the end, I think all of us, would plan on if we got 660k extra or whatever, it's something like that. It's supposed to be laying around, we'll grab that. Definitely, if they're reasonably priced, the lie, cheat, steal props, and also I like the seek and destroy ones too. Those are pretty cool too, and they're going to be in there. So if they're reasonably priced, I'll grab those. The blitz tickets I got for sure, and then if I have extra, or it looks like I'm gonna have extra, the TP ones. I wanted to say something about Earthquake too, because so with him, to me, if I get him, I look at the gear actually kind of as a must, because that makes him super fast with the green red setup, and the red damage is going to be insanely high once you start hitting that 50% buff with the damage, and you get a strap on him and stuff. I think like he's going to put people away really, really fast. I think he'll scale super well with straps and metals. So and you're getting him at 4-star gold already if you recruit him, so you don't need to dump tokens into him. I think he'll be top tier for sure with gear. Without it, I think maybe a step down, but I think he's going to scale really, really well with the strap, because he's just going to do that little bit extra more damage with all his moves. So I'm actually pretty excited about him. Typhoon too, super good. But yeah, that's kind of my take on the prize wall and Earthquake.
I like it.
I think Earthquake is definitely a great to have guy, but not a need to have. Typhoon, I think, is going to turn out to be way more useful, in my opinion.
Yeah, Powerhouse is loaded too. All of us have super good powerhouses, so Earthquake's definitely not a need character, but he's definitely a nice to have.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would definitely put Earthquake just below, say, I put him in a tier below, say, your Scott Halls, your Hall of Fame Scott Hall, Hogan, but he's down in that tier with, like, Luger and people like that.
Yeah.
But as for the prize wall, I actually do like that. I do think the daily offers are pretty cool. I think the daily shop is a little bit better for what it was, but the daily offers are also really. You got 100 HP just before a showdown event. If you're a little low on HP, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial for people loading up Showdown. Can't lie. All right. So we've discussed the monthly. We've hit on the spending ban for a little bit. We discussed how $20 kind of doesn't really feel like it can get you much, but they have a lot of opportunities to kind of capitalize on it. Something else a lot of people were requesting to be spoken about was the manager's pass, the silver pulls versus the gold loot pulls. Does it even feel like it's worth going after NWO Perfect? Something along those lines. Personally, I don't have the manager's pass or the gold pass, but from what my faction has shown me, I don't really have any desire to go for the manager's pass or the gold pass. I'm completely content with my Silver League pulls. I think this is what we're past the first month of it now, and I've gotten 2 4-star fuses personally. I've gotten a 4 bronze Jake and a 4 silver AJ, and that's just for playing the game.
Yeah, man. You saved $25 so I didn't get scrapped. So I got a 4-star gold tech Brett and then a 4-star bronze Velveteen Dream out of the silver. Silver's definitely much better.
Yeah, I'll say the Silver League pulls. It's free. You're getting those pulls literally for doing what you do every day. Obviously, the more you do, the more pulls you're going to accumulate. Somebody like me, I don't do dailies. No, dead man, not TP. So I only hit maybe 2 milestones a day, if that. But all in all, it's free stuff. So I think that's good. The manager's pass, I think that's shit, but that's my personal opinion. So
Tell us how you really feel.
Broke it. Didn't you just love seeing that unbelievable pop up top and then get 10 shards of Tech Orton?
To be honest with you, I don't think I've done many Gold League pulls. I might have done one. But from what I've seen in screenshots and the servers that I'm in, it's not even worth it.
No.
I think the silver is awesome. It's free. I think that's a plus for everyone. The players all win from the silver pass being free. I've got pulled 1 4-star Jake, 4-star bronze Jake, and then 2 4-star bronze striker blacks. So that's amazing. The gold, I personally, for me with my roster, think it's hot garbage. I did it for a month, and all I got was shards of Vince, Orton, and actually some Showboat Austin ones. So I think maybe if you didn't have Showboat Austin and you didn't have Vince, then potentially maybe the gold would be okay. But with my roster and me having all those guys, to me it's a waste at this point. But yeah, other than that, I think the silver is amazing and it's free. So props to Scopely for that.
Yeah, I did the gold pass. I signed up for it the first day, and you had that eye-opening, awful initial pull, which was all shards. I actually don't have Showboat Austin, so I may do the whole bridge the month thing next month, where you collect everything from the previous month and then go into the next month and do some pulls. Just to get Showboat Austin, I forget how many shards I'm off, like 50 or 60. He's just one of those guys that never landed in my lap, but from the free ones, I've gotten a 4 silver Farouk fuse and 4-star Orton fuse, which was great. I had Hall of Stars. I'll take the fuse. The gold one did give me a 4 gold doink fuse, but I've seen a lot of people post that. I don't know if the odds for that one in particular are juiced or whatever, but I'll take a fuse for that. But it's not $25. Absolutely not. Not on a regular basis. I'm going to give it another try just to get Austin, and then unless something improves with it, I'm definitely out.
You know what's going to happen, Kenny? You're going to pull 4 gold perfect when you do that, and you're not going to get Austin. You know that's going to happen.
Probably. But you know what? I'm actually okay with that because they've stopped requiring him for everything. There for the longest time, it was like, hey, here's a new tour. You have Showboat Austin? Man, so sorry about that.
Yeah, they were making it a requirement, especially for 316 day.
They stopped that when they gave him an equal odds loot. That seems to be their going thing. Make the character available and stop using him, much like they've stopped using Tech Becky because they've been throwing it at the walls and all sorts of different loots.
I still can't pull her.
Yeah, I still can't get her.
Don't get me wrong. She's not on my roster either. I'm just saying, the more they allow these characters to become available, I mean, Scopely knows who's got what character. At one point, we were told what the rarest superstars in the game were over a year ago. So they know how many of each card are out there. So that's why when you do these showdown events, this card is worth more because it's a rarer card number-wise. So that's what they go by when they use specific characters for specific tours.
Yeah, it's a simple SQL query, man. How percentage of ownership, and then you can query average level of that character, and boom, there you go. You want to crank the difficulty, you set it higher than that, and you use people that have low ownership, and that's really, to be fair, the only trick that they have is we can't really entice you any other way, so we're just going to lock content behind characters and throw your money at it and hope you get them.
I'm telling you, man, they've raked me over the coals for not having Gallows. Stupid 20 shards.
Yeah, Gallows is a roughie for 20 shards.
It took me a long time to get him too, guys. Yeah.
The rarest 20 shards in the game.
I will say that I was one of the lucky ones who got him in the vaults, like very early on during his monthly. If you got access to the vaults early enough in that monthly, you were pretty much almost guaranteed 20 shard.
Pretty much, yeah.
The only reason I have Gallows is there was a Weekend Warrior, one of the cash events, and the top 100, I think it was, maybe top 50 got shards, and I do tap joys all the time.
The top 100 that got out like 50 shards or 100 shards or some shit like that because they miscalculated the shard fuse point. That was the greatest thing. That was like, top 10, you get, it was like 11 to 20, you get 300 shards, and everyone's like, wait a second, I could have the card at 280 TP, and then it was top from 20 to 50, you could have 200 shards. Wait a second, I can still get the card. It was great.
Well, they just did that with Woken Matt. The faction that I'm in, they took a poll. Do we want to get in the top 30, top 20, whatever we want, or do we want to get below, I think it was like 40, where you got 600 shards of Woken Matt, like...
Oh, you mean the powerhouse angle, you mean?
Oh, sorry, sorry. Powerhouse angle. Well, they gave a lot of people shards in an event before, so a lot of people were like 400 shards off. They were halfway, so it's either you fight and get a 3-star bronze card, or you relax, you enjoy your weekend, and you get them at 3-star gold.
You get yourself a gold. We were trying to do that in 1%, and then we ended up getting the 3-star silver. we were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go hard right out the gate, and we're like, all right, we're gonna do it. We're all gonna feud like for a couple hours, and then we're gonna see where it takes us. And then we tried to stop, and then just ended up not.
Well, no, the problem is that everybody stopped. That's the problem.
Right.
Everyone was slouching towards Bethlehem.
Oh, God.
And trust me, I was one of the very few who was like, that 3-star bronze card, that's going to be a nice little fuse up for me. But I'll take the 600.
So one other thing that I wanted to touch up on. People were wondering where we ended up from the last monthly regarding Bailey, Sasha, the gear, where we ended up. Personally, I ended up with a 4-star silver Bailey. I was 4 tokens short from taking her 4-star gold. Was pretty upsetting day because I don't have a whole lot of lucha masks to take her up to gold. But I will take her up to gold one day. She's still a good card. She's still 1-star full for me. I don't have Sasha. I'm like 200 or 300 shards off of Sasha, but I do have the gear from the feud, and did get the boss time plate from the feud, which we can discuss the boss time plate in a moment for whoever has it and where they'd like to put it. Because I actually saw a video today of someone using it on ZK, and it was pretty interesting.
I think I did the best in that event. I'm about 2,000 shards off of what's her face there.
Sasha.
Sasha.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm getting really close, kind of like Hogan. Just I think it's a little over 1,900 shards.
Gotcha.
And I think I brought up Bailey. I think she's at 2-star bronze now, and I think that's because I bought the fuse up pack.
You'll get those You'll get those Sasha shards in your next pool. You know that.
You're telling me that you did jack shit for this monthly and spent $20 on a fuse up pack, and your Bailey is 2-star bronze with 2 full stars and minus 4 silver with 1 full star? Are you fucking kidding me?
I did nothing, and like this month, I'm pretty much skating by doing nothing. So that's what this game has come to for me. But I still go on and do my pulls for Gargano and Ciampa because I'm an idiot.
We need the Pokemon team playing
for all that QC development and hard work.
Participating in the spend van and all.
Well, I mean, I am participating in the spend ban. I think I'm 500 deep.
Yeah,
but,
500 deep in the band, yeah.
So,
Jesus.
Yeah, I'm 500 deep in the band, and I have a lot to show for it. I think I pulled Striker Sting 7 times at 4-star.
Nice.
Ultimate Warrior, I pulled him several times at 4-star.
Oh, I remember you actually showing me that picture. You pulled NXT Roman Reigns for the 6th time at 4-star. That was congratulations.
NXT Reigns pulled him 6 times at 4 full stars. So, I mean, yeah, that's inflated odds. Don't exist.
You'll be super ready for that in the next NXT event, huh?
Yeah, man.
Well, I'll be honest. They did the 2 NXT Talent Up events. I think I scored like 15 points.
Sweet. Reaching for the stars.
Have you even clicked the fuse up button on the damn NXT Roman? Or is it just sitting there 3-star?
He's sitting at 3-star bronze at a fight. I mean, like I said, I pulled several 4-star silver fuses for Sting, and Sting sits there too. Personally, I believe cards like Sting, NXT Roman, NXT Seth, those should not be in pulls in the featured section. That is nothing more than a big kick in the balls because you finally got that feature. No, you don't. I'd rather have 20 useless shards of Hogan or something.
If they're going to do that, at least give us like a 4-star gold JYD or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one to be next. Why don't you shut your mouth, bud?
For
Shout out
everyone,
to Earth on Ball. He'd be the only person happy about that.
for everyone listening to this podcast, if it sounds like Broken doesn't play the game except to do pulls, that's correct.
Hey, in all fairness, I did do the daily tours for Typhoon, mainly because they were 1 node each and I could handle the lack of attention the game needs. But I think this is something we can go forward with. Now, everything needs to be 1 node. Your blitzes, your feuds. If everything was 1 node, I think I might be more interested to play the game.
Look, I'm not opposed to that one.
We basically pay for the privilege of not playing every month with auto glue.
6 months glitches are rough.
So where did everyone else end up on the Bailey Sasha Ball?
I've got Bailey with 3-star bronze, 1 hollow. I did whatever fell in my lap last month. After the first week, I was out. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Mm.
So I took her up enough where I could do blitzes for the faction as soon as that was feasible. I bought the $20 fuse up pack, and so I could do some blitzes. I think I ended up with 400 and something Sasha shards. That's just because that's what I could do without taxing myself. And yeah, I was good. Had a great talent up though because I worked on people I wanted to all month instead. So the talent up was phenomenal. It was great.
I gotcha.
I ended up with Bailey 4-star gold, 1 hollow. Only the color turn moved max so far, but and she pretty good. I got Sasha right at the end of the month. I had to take Daniel Bryan and Naomi to 4-star bronze. That was pretty brutal.
Whoa! Hold on! No! You got the honor of bringing Daniel Bryan to 4.
The honor.
He was worth the 4-star bronze. Okay.
I'm telling you, he's a lot better than people think.
Actually, agree completely
Yeah,
with that.
after using that guy, I could take him up a little further.
So
He's on my eventually list, man. He does the Tom 7 with his shoot kicks and mat coaching gyms at 4 gold. That's for real. So I'll probably take him up someday. He was the first mega in the game I ever pulled at 3-star.
We're talking
We're
the trickster Brian Kenny.
We're talking the good Daniel Bryan.
Not the garbage.
What are we talking about? What's going on?
Not the John Cena showboat Daniel Bryan.
Hold on. Let's not get carried away because John Cena showboat will be the next one. I will force it down everyone's throat and they will.
Oh dear.
You know what? I think I found my next 4-star goal.
Pixar didn't happen.
We talking about Supercard? What are we talking about here?
No, this is still the Champions podcast. I just got a unique way of playing with people.
I think I need my medicine.
That's what she said.
The way I play is different than the way you play. The way you play sucks, apparently, because John Cena
spends $500 and pulls each
still
week to
uses
play with John Cena.
All right. You know what? For what it's worth, I did land 100 Gargano and Ciampa shards this morning. I mean, it was totally nuts.
Congratulations on the shards. That do nothing. And
the 4-star bronze Ultimate Warrior I pulled because can't have enough of his shards.
No, never.
You definitely can't.
So Cable, go ahead. Where'd you end up from Bailey?
I don't know if I can follow Broken after that, but I'll do my best. So I finished Bailey at 4-star gold, 2 hollow stars. She's actually my favorite female on my roster. I'd rather play with her than Z-Page, even though you could make an argument Z-Page is better. I find Bailey super, super fun. I run her different than most, probably because I don't like doing 2 MP trainer builds for feud, especially. But so I'm running the 1 MP move, dropping the color turns, changing it, and you'd be surprised how many times I got 6 color turns rows out on turn 1.
I ran that moveset on in the first feud and killed it, man. Turn 1.
Yep, she is super fun. It hits really hard. Like I said, 1 MP trainer. By far, to me, the most fun female to use. And the fact that she's free, as much as last month sucked, there were some pretty nice things about it, and Bailey's definitely one of them. Sasha, I ended up 200 shards short, and I hate not maxing and getting a guy, so you're talking about doing it with the 4-star bronze, Daniel Bryan and Naomi. I did it with 3-star golds. And we won't talk about how many cash kickouts I used, but I got those shards and still ended up 200 short. So that was a really big bummer for me.
That's
I
rough.
think you might have been playing Daniel Bryan wrong. We're gonna have a little sit down consultation on this.
When you don't have that second green move, it hurts.
It's rough, yeah. If anyone else has, I think Coyote, did you
I
mention where you ended up?
yeah, I actually wound up with Bailey at 4-star. I maxed out the 3 moves I used. One hollow. I did get Sasha on the last day or so, and she's still fodder.
Yeah. I figure most people Sasha's gonna remain fodder for a little bit.
She's not bad.
No, it's not that she's bad. It's just the showboat slot for a female is something most people either have Wendy for that they don't need Sasha, or it's just not required very much.
Or Paige.
Or Paige.
Or
And
Charlotte.
that's what everybody used to have was before anyone actually spent anything. It was Paige. Because Charlotte and Ronda were the two big females in the beginning that people needed to spend on, and Paige was the one that everyone got for free, and the one that's been the past monthly login for like 3 or 4 months now, because they haven't changed that card out to anything else. Even if they just rotated it again, give new players 12 new cards instead of just Paige over and over again would be something they
I'd
could
still
do.
say that Paige is a very solid character, especially with her gear. That's something I'm surprised they haven't done more of those equal odds with the gear. I'm surprised they didn't do that with Tech Brett and everything. But the equal odds with gear was really good, and if anybody was lucky enough to get her gear, she is definitely a top showboat for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably the only person to get her gear and be disappointed that they didn't get the Mankind gear, because, you know, I'm the Mankind mark.
You don't have all 3 Mankind gears.
You definitely are the only one.
You could have
Whoa.
my Mankind gear and one of my 6 Stone Cold.
Yeah, you have
Well,
all
if you ever
those
get a
zombie
Faces of
wrestling
Foley
gears.
event, I guess Cable will carry us.
Ugh. So while we're on the topic of this monthly, and we have new cards that we're discussing, Ciampa Showdown event. It's here. Wanted to may as well just say it now. Thank you all for spending your time actually doing the podcast instead of kicking off the Showdown event for Ciampa for the first hour or so.
That's this weekend.
Yeah,
That's light work.
That's right now. Maybe some of you are doing your showdown while you're doing the podcast too. I don't know.
I actually am, and I just ran into a damn team that had this guy has Showboat, Shawn Michaels, and Roman Reigns at 4-star gold as his team. I'm not going to name it.
Maybe I should look and Shawn Michaels.
No, don't look at Shawn Michaels.
No, you don't.
Even his gear is so bad that the daily offer isn't even charging 100,000 ingots for it. So no, don't look at Shawn Michaels, please.
You got
That's
minute
right,
and
he's
30
got gear
seconds
too.
move there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
his
I'm
animations
actually
are so
doing Showdown 2 with doing the Hall of Fame Booker run while we're doing this, and this explains why I'm randomly talking about Tech Daniel Bryan or whatever the hell else I'm actually talking about.
Damn, that's the one they should come out with. Tech Daniel
Yeah,
Bryan.
No, that
my
would
Tech Daniel Bryan
too much
doesn't even
sense.
exist.
Don't give Scopely any more ideas.
Yeah, him and Gulak gonna be the new 2 technician tag team they come out with.
One thing I will say about Ciampa, I don't like how he's a technician also. I get the thought process, but to release him and Gargano both of the same class is, in my opinion, a little silly. And I would rather have Gargano's coaching ability than Ciampa.
I think they screwed the pooch by releasing him as the Blackheart with that moniker and not making him a striker. They could have
Or a
agree with
trickster at
they
least.
could have they could have made him a whole bunch of things, but with that moniker, I just with the logo, the way that it looks, it would have fit in so well as a striker for him. He could have been so many other things for sure. I understand the link, which I mean, yeah, it's just like the Bludgeon Brothers link. It's not as powerful, but it's pretty much something that I was calling right on the head. It's going to be a gem damage increase link for him. I still think they could have made him a striker or a trickster or anything that they wanted to and made green his second gem, and it still would have been more than enough to have been an amazing boost for him also without needing to make him attack. The fact they
I
made him a
mean,
tech, it's great for his black and green recycling moveset, because if you do get that DIY tag link for anyone that does have Gargano out there, which, similar to the last podcast, like we talked about, not a lot of people are going to have him, but if he becomes
Yeah, the
available in the
4.
future, it would be pretty awesome to get that buff. He'll be doing north of like 12k damage on his green gems, Ciampa.
I mean, we're looking for Scopely to make sense with their characters. It's the same company that gets Acro John Cena.
Yeah.
Chang'e.
Have 5-star. He'll be great.
We'll talk about 5-star in a bit. But the Ciampa Showdown event, similar to Drew, I kind of like this one. Not similar to the Gargano event at all, where Gargano was you need to spend to get Gargano in order to do anything Showdown, Blitz, or Tour related that's all Gargano. I think this one is very similar to the Drew Showdown event. Maybe the card isn't as powerful as Drew, which some people may say he is more powerful, some people say he's less, some people say that he's equally as powerful, but the concept is that if you do your showdown, you grind it out, if you have the cards, you can get your Ciampa for free, and if you don't have some of the cards, you can spend for that guaranteed card. It's not spend for a chance. It's not pull the slot machine and do a spin on the loot, quote unquote, until you actually land on what you want. So I gotta give him props for that one in my eyes.
Yeah, and the other thing is, from what I understand, they did actually listen to some of the complaints that were brought up, which is good. It's finally.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, I can't go into detail or anything, but they did change it up to be more player friendly, so they are listening,
I was
believe it
gonna
or
say,
not.
I can give my 2 cents on what I heard, and you don't need to necessarily go into details, but I heard that there was a Mr. T requirement, got changed out to Big Kev. The amount of Typhoon attempts was only previously 30. It got moved up to 50. And the way that the point scoring system was going to work prior to people bringing the methods up was that you were going to need not only all the other requirements, but you would still also need Johnny Gargano, and after having all of the cards and doing all the required fights, you would still need to spend in order to hit that max milestone to get that 2-star bronze Ciampa, versus now you don't even need to have Gargano and you can still do it without spending.
Ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, I mean, Ciampa's he's a decent tech, but if it was like that, there'd be very few people that want to do that chase.
Exactly. But if you're doing it this way now, and the way that they've changed it, for some people that don't have Gargano, and then someone else might not have Scott Hall, or someone might not have Tyler Breeze, those people that are only one card short now they might spend $100 and chase after the card. And
Right.
now they might tell themselves, this event, guys, I loved this event. I got a warrior card out of it because he's in the milestones and people might not have him. And on top of that, I got a Ciampa out of it. And on top of it, even though I spent $100, I maybe got X, Y, or Z in the pull from spending $100 just to get my Ciampa shards. So they can get anywhere from 1 to 3 brand new cards on this event for $100. And that's guaranteed.
I mean, you don't even really have to spend money. I mean, I don't have Gargano or Gallows, and I can do it with a relatively small amount of new gen talent up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hold
I
on,
think
Warrior's available in this milestone?
Yeah, you need some more shards, right?
I don't have him yet, so I really.
Yes.
He's a beast.
Yeah, this is how
Recruit.
Or,
So-
conversely, if someone completes the event and they're, say, 100 shards short of that 4-star bronze, they might be inclined to.
Right. Yeah, so when you look at it and you think about it, like, I don't think any of us begrudges Scopely dropping a mega, requiring to spend to get that character. They're fine to do that. They should have decent odds, and those odds should be reflected accurately, not like the Hogan bullcrap. But that being said, I think none of us begrudge Scopely dropping megas and keeping them completely behind a paywall. But when they do that, events like this, I think, are super important. While not everyone can max it, and some people might not agree with what I'm saying, you can miss 2 of the guys and still get Ciampa for free. So you don't need all the required guys to do the event. You don't need Gargano, and you can get away with losing one other guy. And you could even do it probably down 3 if you were willing to drop enough coin on new gen. And then you factor spending into it. And I think it's a really dang good event. Overall, this kind of model for Showdown, I would love to see one of these a month like this. And I think it would generate revenue for Scopely, and a lot of the player base would be happy with it. They're never going to make all the people happy all the time, for sure, because everything's not free, so people are going to be mad. But this type of event model for Showdown is very good, I think. And I am be the first to admit I am fangirling all over Ciampa because he's my favorite current active guy, and his model looks amazing. The animations are amazing. I mean, he's doing a Project Ciampa off the top rope move in there, so I'm not going to get sick of seeing that. And if you don't have say Tech Black or Kofi, which I don't, who's better than Ciampa at Tech? Or better? Maybe there's some as good, but who's better? Like, looking at it, I don't know that you say.
Bruno Sammartino.
Do you think he's better for sure though?
I'm
Yeah,
on the fence.
I would say so.
I don't think that he's necessarily better.
Maybe Tech Gold does.
But that, in all fairness, that's because I have Bruno up there and I've used him, and I've yet to look at Champ.
Bruno is amazing. He's definitely in that conversation. Bruno is fantastic.
Right, but to say clearly better than Ciampa, you're probably only going to say clearly better is Kofi and Black, right?
And
Yeah, an Acro Taker.
That's not a technician, Ben. In case
Well, I mean, he uses green moves. Come on.
Jesus.
Are we talking about Acro O'Brien
He
again?
doesn't have any green moves. He uses green gems. In case anyone isn't
Whatever.
aware,
Shut your face.
in case anyone isn't
hold
aware,
on.
Ben has joined on a little bit late and decided to chime in here and there with his lovely green conversation on Acro Taker.
Well,
Yep.
for what it's worth, I think Tech Brian might actually be up in that conversation.
Hey, I'm gonna take
Tech
him out.
Brian's.
He was my
Tech
login
Brian's so
bonus.
OP they can't release me.
I think Tech Brett will be in that conversation too once people get his.
Once they get the gear,
Yeah, the gear.
It's a good point. I do think Ciampa, though, is a very good card. I think he's underrated. I think the fact that he has a 1 MP move that deals out 14 silence gems, it's going to be a very good card for a lot of people to counter Zombie Austin with, because he won't have a select area to put his purple gems. On top of the fact that you can just pile on a whole bunch of silence gems and use that avalanche Project Ciampa that Cable was just talking about to just do a bunch of damage from all the silence gems on the board, which is how I plan on running them if I get them. But the card seems very interesting, and I think that the fact they made the change if you look at Showdown events in a row and you say Drew is the first one, Gargano's the second one, and Ciampa being the third one, I think they started it off right with Drew. I think that was a great start off to all these events. I think they got it really wrong with Gargano, and I think they're trying to shift it back more towards Drew with the Ciampa event. And to toss in my 2 cents on it, because I was somebody who did spend on Drew, I ended up spending $300 to get Drew's 4-star silver shard point. Ciampa has a 4-star bronze shard point. So you're getting more shards for him from these tours, and you have a much lower point needed and required to get him to that 4-star full fuse point versus Drew. I think that's also a step in the right direction in the Showdown event. So also talking about Showdown in general, I wanted to talk about the store rework. Just the whole Showdown store getting a complete turn on its head. There is now the Starfill tokens are available. You have Hall of Fame tokens. Even though people are saying there's 4-star Hall of Fame tokens, I have yet to see a 4-star Hall of Fame token inside of the Showdown store. I'm waiting for some for my Lita, but I have not seen any as of yet. The China
I've seen more
tokens,
critical.
the China tokens to evolve people, and the one thing which seems to be pissing a lot of people off is the humongous price hike in these Showboat Flare shards. There seems to be absolutely no rhyme or reason as to why they've charged so much more for his shards, unless they're trying to make him into a rare character again, so they can use him for requirements. Now that they gave everybody a free co-owner flair, they have to have a pay-to-win or important Ric Flair again. I'm not sure about that, but just wanted to touch on the Showdown store rework. Personally, I'm going in every single day now to the Showdown shop, and I'm getting all of these Starfill fragments. I'm getting all of the TP, and if there is any 2-star silver tokens, I'm getting all of those as well every single day. And I am keeping an eye out for the 4-star Hall of Fame tokens for anyone that does have a Hall of Fame character, whether it's Booker from the monthly and couldn't max him out to 4-star gold, or if you have been lucky enough to go for a Hall of Fame character and pulled them, you will realize that you most likely don't have all the tokens you need to take them up. I think it's a great addition to the store.
Yeah, I agree with that. For instance, before I had Tech Sting, I used to only go to the store to check to see if I had Tech Sting shards or if I had 500 TP. If I didn't have either, I just wasn't interested in any of it. Now, I do find myself buying more things like Star Fragments. I even do find myself buying a TP, or even some of the lower cost 3-star silver tokens or 4-star gold tokens. And I finally got the last couple of China tokens I needed, so I can start working on her.
I've been able to get like 9 China tokens. I still have 10 more left, so that's been pretty good. But yeah, the Starfill, definitely the best deal in there.
Yeah, I agree. It's been great. It allowed me to get my Hall of Fame Lita through the 4-star bronze to help out with mixed match with Booker. I'm not really going for the China tokens right now because I'm like 60 something short, and that's like a billion Showdown coins. So I'll worry about that when it gets to it. But Starfills, I've gotten enough to do 3 now. I think I've filled one for Seth Rollins, and I've gotten enough to put a 3rd star on X-Pac. That's bothered me for freaking ever that he was 2 Hall of Stars. And I'm working now on getting another one. So yeah, it's been fantastic. I'm checking the store every day too, so it's been pretty nice.
Yeah, I think Showdown overall, the store revamp is pretty awesome. I mean, went from me being forever 19 China tokens short to now I have enough, and it went to being 1 Hall of Fame token from 4 SG Booker and a 4 SS Sting, to now I have that token and I can have eventually a 4 SG Sting as well. So those are huge wins. The Star Fragments are amazingly priced, so that's a massive win. The only real downside is that the really good things in there for people that don't have Wolfpack Sting yet, because there's more stuff and the same amount of slots open, you're seeing less Wolfpack Sting, less TP, and probably the one that hurts me the most, honestly, is the Blitz tickets, because that was an auto buy for me, and they were really affordable in there. So I miss seeing those in there quite as often. But if I have to trade that stuff to get the Hall of Fame tokens and the China tokens and Star Fragments in there, I think it's pretty worth it. It does suck for people that don't have Slick Rick, that the price hike went up for the shards. That's pretty crappy. But overall, I think it's a win for the player base for the Showdown store, and definitely more reasons to check daily.
I was just going to say, and I forgot to say this, it's possible that they're trying to make those, because the DX subscription, that vault is full of Slick Rick shards, so maybe they're trying to make that look more appealing. I have no idea, honestly.
I think the Showdown shop is exponentially better. I spent 1,000 IGC on it the other day, just refreshing for Star Fragments. It seems like Star Fragments, TP, those will always be taking a spot. Same with token. It seems like there's always a TP spot, a token spot, and a shard fragment or a Star Fragment spot. What I think they should put in there is the 3-star shard loot, because I don't even know where to get those anymore. And people that need Showboat Austin, even somebody like the bad guy Razor Ramon, he's in there too.
Yep.
Acro Macho.
Yeah, I don't have either of those, Acro Macho or Razor. That's a great example.
So I think that they could have incorporated those into it. That would have made it even more appealing.
I think the key is, and it's something that Cable briefly touched upon, I think that they need to revisit the 6 slot deal and maybe make it something even larger. Because there are so many items now, I think if you have, like you were talking about, they always have a slot. So they always have a slot for TP. They always have a slot for star fragments. They always have a slot for now the tokens. So these are things that they're going to always have slots for. If that's the case and they're always going to have a slot for it, there should be an extra, let's say, third row at the bottom. So you have a total of 9 items instead of 6. So you have 6 items, there's always going to be a slot for. So you know every day in Showdown, you're going to log in, you're going to buy your TP, you're going to buy your star frags, you're going to buy your tokens. And then you can look on the bottom 3 and say, oh, okay, there's 4-star Hall of Fame tokens today. Or there's 3-star shard loot today. Or there's 10 shards of this character today. Or whatever it may be, and you switch it up in that bottom row every day instead of having your fixated items. I think that's where they can end up getting a lot of people to get and go through those showdown coins. And they can make it any range of things. They could just say every single item. So if they wanted, you could even have 2 sets of star fragments on that day. Just one random day, one of your random items is another set of star frags for a different color. But that's what I think they need to look into to revisiting, is from 6 items to 9 or more.
Yeah, they could also like have a static store where you could buy all the stuff and then have it on cooldown. Let's say like once a week you can buy X amount of Hall of Fame tokens, and you could, so they could still have a way of maybe making money on it. You could refresh that cooldown away. But let's say like your 500 TP is in there, your 100 TP is in there, and you can
Right.
get all of it, and then they just put the whole thing on cooldown for certain amounts of time. But that way you could always pick what you were going to spend your stuff on. I think that would be super amazing. Basically a prize wall that reset, and you could pay to reset it currency as well.
So now there's no, in my opinion, there's no incentive for them to do that versus having people use the IGC on the refreshes. So if they were to do that prize wall mentality, I agree with you, but I think they should maybe raise the price of everything that they're selling by 10 or 20%. If you're selling
Sure.
if you're selling 20 star frags for 250 showdown coins, you sell 25 star frags for 300 showdown coins on the prize wall, and it's limited to 2 for the week or for the month or something like that. And that, to me, that would make perfect sense, because if someone wants, they could go through those showdown coins immediately and get the items that they wanted versus having to reset and spend their cash to get it for the discounted price of 20% discount.
I'll say this though, as for them doing a prize wall, half the time they struggle with the prize wall.
What's that, Coyote?
No, I
Can you
don't-
say that again?
I said half the time they struggle to get the prize wall right at the beginning, or there's always some kind of major bug with it. So if we're going to have them permanently have a showdown one in there, that kind of worries me from a technical standpoint with the way their infrastructure works. In my
Yeah, we're also, we're going off the assumption that they can code things properly and this and that, which
you know what they say when you assume, right?
it makes an ass out of you and me, except in this case it's just an ass out of me because we all know they can't code shit. Um, so unless anyone else has any other takes on the showdown, the event, or the store rework, if you do, please let me know. Otherwise, I think we're gonna approach our final topic for the day.
Just want to know. I want to know why the star fragments are all different prices for 20 fragments. Some are 200, some are 250, some are 270. I'd like to know the reason behind that.
Honestly, I'm still waiting for a reason as to why, if you look at medals, anything that has red on it is less than anything else.
It's like halved.
Anything that has red jam damage is 1.6%, not 3.2%.
They
Anything.
knew Drew was coming someday.
Anything. They even leave it for black gems, it's at 2.4% instead of 3.2. That I can understand. They took a 25% chunk out because it's strikers and they're very strong. But you took a 50% dip for red gems? What happened to the red gems? What's going on with the red gem hate?
It's also on the move damage too
Yeah.
for red.
There's just random things that I don't understand when it comes to certain colors, and why there's different prices. It makes no sense to me. No rhyme or reason.
A different shivering intern in the warehouse set the price that day, and was too afraid to speak up.
Alright, so if we're done with Showdown, I think we're going to hit the final topic on the list today. which is something I'm sure a lot of people have been looking forward to discussing. We are all aware that there are moves being edited in code now that are 5-star moves. Some people are believing that this may have to impact why Matt Hardy got changed for the green moves to yellow moves and vice versa. The explanation for the Technician MDM finisher showing the code description instead of what the move actually does. So there's been a lot of talks about editing moves. 5 stars may not necessarily be around the corner per se, and I don't think anyone in here thinks that they're going to be coming out next week, but they are impending, obviously. I think that there's going to be a lot of editing in place. I think what we spoke about very, very briefly last 2 weeks on the podcast was that there could be potential of tricolor moveset for Matt Hardy could be running 3 yellow moves or 3 green moves. I'm interested to see into what type of meta the game is going to shake up into, but I am very, very scared on a personal note that it is going to end up really and royally ruining the game. I don't think they've even taken a full view and look at how their straps and medals have impacted the entire game, from the feud standpoint to the blitz standpoint. They were trying to use them against us, quote unquote, in the tours, and they didn't even realize how impossible they had made it against the community. So I think that they've already made one huge leap when they went from 3 to 4 stars. I think they made an even larger leap when they went from 4 stars to not only 4-star golds, but straps and belts and medals, and then including skill plates, which includes the boss time skill plate, which it is by far probably the strongest skill plate that's out there, and it makes anybody that has it win. I'm on a personal note, I'm pretty scared as to how this 5-star shakeup is going to impact things. Interested, yes. Also on a personal note, scared.
But I mean, weren't we in the same mindset when 4 stars were coming out? I mean, a lot of people were saying it was going to ruin the game, and in some ways, it really did change the game. We didn't even think it at the time. I remember I was on DVD and Vengeful One's podcast back talking about it too soon after really have an opinion. And I'm interested too, but I also do think that the fact that they haven't really balanced the game economy from the 3-star model, 4-star model is terrifying to come out with.
It's only in the store they haven't balanced out the economy. We do get millions and millions of coins from showdown events, so there are certain aspects, but things like feud, that needs a big buff. I was hoping that style of solo milestones would be around forever, but clearly this past feud shows that no, it's not going to be a thing. Personally, I think 5-star is a lot sooner than you're thinking, because you figure it was within a month after the 4-star moves were being edited that we got 4 stars. It was literally 2 weeks after we got the editing for the 4-star gold moves that those released. I think we're going to be seeing this. I think 5 stars will be in the game by SummerSlam, if not on SummerSlam.
I think the thing that quote unquote terrifies people about whenever they make a move like this, a big major meta move, is that they have proven to be really uninterested in a balanced play environment. Like if you look at other competitive games, whether online or like Magic the Gathering or something like that, where the designers obviously have an interest in a healthy, balanced, as far as that can be, play environment. And you compare guys that they offer, and you look at something like a Trickster Hogan. There's no world where that exists in an environment where you're interested in keeping a play balance. And it's not so much that the players are afraid of change; it's that Scopely has proven to be really, not even incompetent, uninterested in keeping a game environment that's balanced in any other way than how can we get you guys to spend some more cash. So I don't anticipate, we do have the three move sets that's the same color move. That's good and bad. Had they had that conversation, probably not. From a good perspective, it streamlines the amount of moves that you can bust out and get charged up. On the bad side, you can get more often screwed by the board, from having the same color.
I mean,
Have they had that?
Here's
sorry.
some food for thought with the whole 3 moves of one color. What do you think that the odds are of? We all know that there's 2 moves locked right now. Well, what about a 4th color on a superstar?
Mm-hmm.
And both of those moves take up that 4th color. I mean, that might be a route that they decide to go to.
That may be the easiest thing to code. I was teasing that before, that it may not even be the same color because everything's getting edited right now. If you have somebody like Matt Hardy who's yellow, green, blue, they could potentially add in a purple color for his 5-star moves.
That's a great idea. It's actually a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I think the real concern to me is always going to be balance, and the reason it's concerning is because they rush content because they think new content means more money because new tokens. People always spend a bunch on tokens when new stuff comes out because they got to be the first to have multiple 4 or 5 stars, whatever. So they're always trying to rush it, and that's bad because we have plenty of stuff that still needs fixed, still needs balancing. Like you said with the straps, they didn't know how powerful the straps were with trainers like Honky Tonk Man that was worthless prior to straps.
Mm-hmm.
And we showed them how good they were, the community did. And then they're like, oh, crap, we didn't really think this through. And that's just the start. Once you start getting skip turns, bleed immunities, now we're getting stun immunity straps. It's all great ways for them to make money. And they, I think, come up with these ideas. And on paper, they might sound great. But in actuality, a lot of it are game breaking or game changing, and that's like when you talk about really OP'd characters, that's bad because so if a character's OP'd and I chase him and then you nerf him, I'm gonna be super pissed off, right? So you can't really release a guy and then nerf him after the fact without pissing the whole community off. So some of
They
this,
did it with Tough.
yep.
Yeah, I mean, they did it with Tough and
They-
with
they-
Stardust, too.
They've done it with actually quite a few characters, but you see the biggest nerf, and we're getting to the point where Hogan, he's turn 2. We're getting to that turn 2, turn 1 era again, and how did they stop the turn 1, turn 2 era? They can no longer release somebody that's even more powerful than these guys, because why, if I have Hogan, why am I going to chase any other powerhouse? So what they do is they go on to the next star. And once that next star comes out, I mean, look what the meta was when we hit 4-star. It was anyone who recycled was good. End of story.
Yeah, Doink was top tier. Doink was the top tier tech.
Now he's not even top 5, but he was at one point the best tech. Why? Because he recycled. So I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to go the route of, well, things are way off balance. We can balance it by releasing the next tier, and that's when you're going to see things like Roman Reigns from 2-star to 3-star. I think he lost all of his blast gems but 1.
Mm-hmm.
And their reasoning was, well, because now he's much more powerful. I think you're going to see that with a lot of the gem create guys where they're making less gems because they're more powerful. They're going to slow it all right back down again, and they're going to make people like Acro John Cena top tier because everybody's got him at 2-star silver level 1.
Mankind's ready to go. I'm in good shape.
As long
You know
as I
one
can
thing
keep
that I haven't. You know one thing I haven't heard anybody mention here, and this is something that really, really just sticks in the back of my mind. And maybe some of the newer players won't know, but a lot of old players will. The last time they rolled out a tier, a rarity from 3-star to 4-star, they rolled probably one of the worst events they've ever done. The D9 event.
Mm-hmm.
I am
Yeah,
beyond worried they're going to roll out another one of
No,
those for 5-star.
they kind of learned their lesson on that one. That was a shit show.
I mean, people couldn't even feud if they didn't spend hundreds of dollars chasing 2 characters who are extremely common now, Vince and Honky. You couldn't even feud.
I was the luckiest motherfucker when I pulled
Language.
Vince off of a single $100 pull. I had told myself, all right, I'm gonna try and feud, um, and that was like the worst feeling at the time because you're sitting there like you said, it's like I'm trying to roll the dice, spin the slot machine, hope that I land on the card that I'm not even gonna level up just to put in my lineup so I can feud. And I was like, I guess I'm throwing $100 at the wall and hoping that I get this card. And I ended up getting Vince at 3-star bronze, and I could feud, and pulled out of the D9 event, which the whole annoying part was that they released the what was the loot that you could spend your coin on to get your 4-star superstar at like 2 a.m. in the middle of feud. And the worst part was the one that I ended up getting was Striker Balor Club. The worst part was there was no slot for me to put Striker Balor Club in my feud lineup if I wanted to. But some other people who pulled Vader, there was a new gen slot for the powerhouse, and that was their Vader. And
Yeah,
I
well,
remember that was the worst feeling, is that you see a Vader in the lineup, you're like, shit, is that the 4-star Vader? And you're like, damn it, that's the 4-star Vader. You lose. That was it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They should have waited until after Feud to release it. But, I mean, it could be worse. I was told that there was absolutely no crappy cards in the loot, and I was assured that there would be absolutely nothing of disappointment, and I got stuck with Striker Austin. So I don't want to hear your crying.
Hey, I got one even better. I got Steamboat out of it.
Oh, God.
Well, you remember when 4-stars just came out, Steamboat was a top striker because he was able to get them power gems out, and he was able to do really quick damage at the time.
Yeah, prior to Hall of Fame Booker, who everyone has nowadays, he was the OG Hall of Fame Booker.
Currently 3 turning folks in Showdown as we speak.
I was gonna say, it's like, yeah, you guys all want to talk about your old school Enzo days and your old school Steamboat days. We have Typhoon and Hall of Fame Booker nowadays. Oh, God, yeah. You guys come back. You guys come back to our days when we used to use Enzo to blitz and get our health packs back from it.
Oh gosh, they used to rig blitzes so we couldn't use Enzo. It was too unfair. We couldn't run our blitzes with
No
Enzo.
modern and no showboat. Those were the 2 slots.
Yep, I remember for about 3 months they wouldn't let us use Enzo for blitz, and then for a good 2 to 3 months they wouldn't let us use Zombie Austin in Feud.
And then
Can we go back to that?
And then I remember there was a whole entire issue where it was 13 feuds in a row for Zombie Austin, and then it was something like 17 feuds in a row for X-Pac users. Some crazy amount where it's like if you didn't have them, you were screwed. But if you had them, then you could feud. It was terrible. And that's when everyone started getting sick and tired of Austin and X-Pac and having to use them, not even having to go up against them.
I still to this day avoid using them.
Yeah, I
as
can't
much
stand
as
it. I can't stand using them for shit, man. It's not as enjoyable. The game has evolved to the point where there's more fun cards to use. Like, even if you have the old school cards, I love using Big Kev still, so that's an older card because he's been out for over a year now. But with the amount of buffs they've given him with his gear, with Drew, with all the column breaks, that's a card that I still love using to this day.
I thoroughly enjoy using Austin with his gear because he's doing 100% more silence damage, so it's not as painful using him anymore.
Right. While we're on the topic, I know that we're gonna sort of close and wrap up. We've been going at it for a little while. Wanted to thank everybody for coming out, but before we do close up, since we are on the topic of Showdown, who are you guys using for Showdown right now? We can try and talk about getting some gameplay for the next video. See if you guys can maybe scrounge up like 10 minutes of your Showdown gameplay of who you're using and how you're going about it. Who are you guys using?
Fashion Police all day, every day, baby. Nothing better than Dango and Breeze.
Hall of Fame Booker and whoever is on the checklist. Just tagging along, watching from the sidelines.
Just banging him
Go
out,
get him,
right?
Dad. Go get him, Dad.
I'll be using Zombie Austin, of course, because I'm a schmuck, and probably Drew McIntyre.
That's a good one.
That's not schmuckish at all.
I'll just be using Hogan and whoever's required.
There we go. The Hogan and somebody else. All right. So we got Austin. We got Fashion Police. We got Hogan in the checklist. We got Hall of Fame Booker in the checklist. I will add a third one to that drop down. I'm using Tech Black in the checklist. For the the checklist we're talking about is the Ciampa checklist for anyone that's still listening to this awful podcast an hour plus in.
I'm sorry. If you're still listening, I'm sorry.
We sincerely apologize for the content.
Pretty much.
You must be really bored.
Well, although I will probably get bored and switch out to the Hall of Fame team, Booker and Scott Hall at some point.
I still, one final thing before we close up, I still think Broken, something you touched on the last podcast, was spot on. They need to come out with a free-to-play Hall of Fame character for some people. Because anyone that doesn't have Booker, or anyone that does, who doesn't have a tag team partner for him, they are shit out of luck. And no one's going to want to spend hundreds upon hundreds for Sting or Eddie or Hall in those Hall of Fame loots because there's no guarantee to get them.
Yeah, I spent 200 on Sting and
Sting,
Hall,
right?
respectively.
Yeah.
It was Sting and Hall, and I barely got, I think, maybe 10 shards of each if I'm...
Right, and yeah, exactly, and they're 2,000 shard points, man. Like that, you could spend more chasing those guys than you could actually trying to get the Hogan shards.
What if instead of maybe a free-to-play one, they did an equal odds one with some of them?
Look, I'll be real with you on that one. I think people really hated on the fact that there was an NWO equal odds loot for $50, but if they had an equal odds loot with something, and because they're 2,000 shards, I would have to say something closer along the lines of like a 400 shard plus point being the lowest amount of shards. If they had an equal odds loot for all of the Hall of Fame characters, I think I'd pull on that for $50.
Yeah, I would too.
I'll be honest, even if they release a regular equal odds loot, left the shard point at 2,000 but didn't hike up the price, I think that would be acceptable with how many shards of each you need. I think even if they released it and made it so you can only buy a certain amount like they normally do, I think you'll have a lot of people that if they do not pull the card, they are not getting the card.
Yeah, that's a good potential too. But I think while people like the Hall of Fame loot model, and those people being the people that are willing to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars chasing the cards, I think it needs to be revisited. I think it needs to be looked at. I think equal odds needs to potentially make a comeback, and a good way they can do it is by doing an equal odds on the Hall of Fame loot. I don't see that being a bad one at all. And yeah, they could make it the normal price with low shard points, but I think if they really want to rake in the money, that even if they want to make that their $20 pull, have at least 150 or 100 to 200 shards as the lowest point of each of those guys. And if someone pulls 150 Hall of Fame Hall shards for $20, maybe they're a little upset, but maybe they're 150 closer where they only needed 300. So it depends on everybody's situation.
I'm talking about the $20 for 3 pulls or whatever it normally is, or 5 pulls.
Yeah.
But just leave the shards a minimum of 20 or whatever, and it sucks, but you never get just the minimum on those equal odds pulls. You might get all shards, but you're never gonna get just the minimum. I've yet to see that.
Yeah,
that's also true. But I mean, well, even if they did it, kind of split the difference. They did one Hall of Fame pool that's maybe at $20, but has a lower shard rarity. But they did something like a high roller Hall of Fame equal odds pool. They could do that, and they would be able to get
like that.
And they'd be able to get the best of both worlds. They'd be able to get those high-end spenders to want to go in and do the high roller loot, and they'd get the people who are guppy, and I don't mean it's in a derogatory way, but who are guppies who don't spend as much to go into that other loot at a chance.
It's trying to define that third bucket. Kind of going back to that older point that we were talking about before, there's that bucket of either you're free to play / you only spend $20, which again is a very derogatory and disrespectful thing to say towards anyone that's spending $20 on a game to compare them to somebody who is free to play, versus the spenders. And no, Mr. Spendman, who's already 500 deep on the month, you are not free to play. I'm sorry, but you are not.
Well, hold on. Hold on. When I do play, I'm free to play because I use free to play characters.
Oh my
But
god.
He doesn't spend when he's sleeping.
I'll never understand you, man. Anyway, on that note,
I mean,
thank you all for coming out, for joining us. Ben has already decided to leave because he's a sack of shit, and I hope that he joins us on the next one for the full duration of it. He's gonna have to listen back to the podcast and hear me call him a sack of shit. Shout out to Davey for allowing us to come onto his server. And that is our second iteration of the Lounge Podcast. Thank you all for joining. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good jazz. And feel free to reach out on any of the Discord channels that you know any of us on. If you're interested in performing in a future podcast, definitely reach out to Davey if you're on his server. To CableGuy, to anybody that's on the podcast, feel free to reach out to me directly. Also, to Bob29, hashtag 0002 on Discord. And yeah, definitely feel free to reach out. Thank you all for listening, and hope you guys have a great showdown. Go out there, kick some ass, get yourself a Ciampa.